it would change so drastically. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a day in the life of Bangalore, as it were, starting in the morning and ending up at night. And I traveled all over the city trying to find different activities, different street activities, and generally found that it was during festival times that, that actually because there was not enough space, the had to block off certain roads so that the activity could take place, so that it could spill onto the street. Because, does anyone know? I mean, there's so few open Maidans, or, in a way that Calcutta and Delhi have still got these spaces where public activity can happen. So this is Malleshwaram market during Ganesha. Then I went into the smaller neighborhoods of the city, so the villages within the city, as it were, and tried to see whether they were still, the traditional lifestyles were still carrying on within those areas. So that's what these are. Then I started to look at the fact that, that inadvertently, this street activity happens with a backdrop of these wonderful new murals that the BBMP seems to have given us. And with it came a sort of, what is reality and what is fiction, and there was a wonderful juxtaposition. So this is during St. Mary's Feast, where they actually do block off the traffic during that time. So then, what actually is going on here? Are they lining up to do darshan to the king, or, this is during St. Mary's Feast, again in Shivaji Nagar. I wonder what that music is. It's fantastic.
It's a soundtrack.
Yeah, and so and I also found fantastically wonderful sort of humorous juxtapositions going on between what was happening in the front and thing. And then I tried to look at the smaller festivals that were going on, not the major ones, not Ganesha and things like that, and how were they able to still exist within the streets. And, this is the sort of thing that happens. They have to force their way through traffic. This is my favorite mural, and this tree keeps growing out of his head, and every now and then they chop it off, and then it grows back again. And this is dentists under the Mysore Road flyover. And they specialize, they don't do drilling because there's no electricity, but they glue new teeth in for you there. These are all near Shivaji Nagar. So this is during the Ramazan period. This is behind the city railway station, and once a year, they out of her navel they build this sort of pit of coals, and the priest becomes a woman and runs out of it. So there's so many different layers of the city. And I think what's interesting as a photographer is that we walk the streets of the city. We to ply our trade, we walk the streets, and it gives us time to sort of see what's going on and to connect with I sit and chat with people and get involved in find out about things, and it's. You realize that it's such an interesting city, actually. There's so many different levels of things that are going on. and these are these temporary Mary's things that come up, and these are the temporary food stalls during Ramzan. So I think that's the end of my 10 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good evening. Mahesh Bhatt, a photographer. I was born and brought up in Mangalore, and I've been here for the last about 25 years as a photographer. I've done quite a bit of work. Claire and I had worked on the book, but it's possible. Yeah. Or we'll close it then. It's fine. I can close it. Few years ago, I think it was around 94, we had done a book on Bangalore Saints from an Indian City. Then recently I have done a book published last year myself called Bengaluru to Bangalore in first person singular. So in the course of my talk, I'll give a little more about myself. The last few months I've been talking about photography at various places. I write about photography twice a month for Bangalore Mirror. I'm like a last minute chap. I really don't know what the hell to write or what to speak till like the very last minute. So, Roy called me a few days ago, I think last week, to talk about what I would be speaking, and it's easier to talk to Roy because he does most of the talking. So I kind of, mumbled a couple of words, and that was the end of it. I tried that with my wife. She gets very angry. So, I really can't explain, but it was okay. And even last night, I had no clue what to speak to, and so I got really hassled. So I stopped thinking about it and went and switched on Meeting Joe Black, this old film, and it was fabulous. And I was, halfway through the film, I knew what I was going to talk. So, I came to Bangalore. My first visit to Bangalore was sometime in 1970s. I was like in the first standard. I came with my mom. My uncle and aunt, they all used to stay in Hall Road in Richardstown. And, one day we went to, my mom and I went to Avenue Road to meet her friends. And when we came back, my cousin, who was, then a teenager, she was born and brought up in Bangalore. So she kind of asked me, "Oh, how's Avenue Road? Is it a broad avenue with lots of trees, And my mom said, "No, it's actually in a very narrow road, crowded road. It was crowded even then." And she was disappointed. But what was interesting is that for somebody who was born and brought up in the city, and she had no clue how Avenue Road looked like, because her whole universe was a radius of maybe from her house 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers. It perhaps ended at NG Road, So that was interesting for me, and that kind of, when I did my book, started working seriously on my book a few years ago, this kind of incident played a big part on exploring different Bangalores, We all know that Bangalore is made up of the Pete and the Cant. Then I later came to know through friend Patrick Wilson, the cantonment itself had two parts, one on the right side of the tracks and the wrong side of the tracks. So apparently it was frowned upon if a boy from the right side, that's south of Benson Town, dated a girl from the north of Benson Town, it was not, it was kind of frowned upon. That's what Patrick told me. So Bangalore had many, it was a very fractious city, and there was no single identity as such. And I was, I think in a way fortunate to be here at the time when Bangalore exploded, in the mid-90s, then in the first half of the 21st century. And in the beginning of my career here, I was doing a lot of advertising photography. I was not really involved with the city in any way, actually. It's only in I think, a bit of involvement when we did the earlier book, and then later on in the first half of the 21st century, Bangalore became a very hot property in the world media market, Everybody was coming here to take pictures to do stories on Bangalore. It was all IT oriented. So I photographed Bangalore for everybody, right from Newsweek of Japan to Pittsburgh Post, everybody. And we would go to first stop, pit stop would always be Infosys, and then other places. And then what I used to do was to take the writers to Chamrajpet and the market there to show them another part of Bangalore. So that was around 2004 and 2006, and then later on, from 2004 onwards, I started documenting this festival called Karaga that has been happening for, I don't know how long, nobody knows how long, maybe at least 200 years or more. It happens every year, and half of Bangalore, even today, people of Bangalore don't know about this festival. It's very important, and this, then I realized that amidst this great change, there are constants in the city, and these constants, to me, have been holding the secular fabric of the city. I'll tell you why later on. So I've been shooting Karaga for many years. I continue to do even now. Another set of documentation is going to happen this year and next year. I also have, for the last 12 years, I've been living in the outskirts of the city, in the northwestern part of the city. Not a city, actually, it's a village. You all would have, you would know the Nrityagram. We have our farm is right next door, so I live there. And I get a unique perspective of the change because I kind of travel, when I come into town, I travel all the way from a village to the peri-urban areas, then into the city, then maybe, if I go to Jayanagar or further, then I go into south. So it's almost from the north pole to the south pole of the city, or east to west, as it need be. I really saw the last 12 years, how the city started like an amoeba expanding and, things changing. I'm also a kind of an outsider. I was not born and brought up here, and I don't have a great connect to the city. Though I document a lot. I think a connect like Vivek or Ryan would have, because they were born and brought up here, and their childhood was spent here, and they have a lot of fond memories. So I don't, and my perspective is different. This is just this is a kind of an introduction to what my thought process is as I continue to shoot. And now I'll run through some of the pictures that I have shot. And this, I also shoot a lot with my mobile phone now, which is I got a great phone recently, a great camera, which also has a phone. So I keep shooting. So it helps me a lot, because people really don't care if you shoot with a phone, So it's very easy to shoot pictures, even if you're in the face of somebody. Now, this first picture is, I had been to Electronic City to meet somebody, and as I drove back on the flyover, this view really startled me, And there's Infosys and the pyramid and everything else, and this village in front, which has been there for, it's a village, it's not a slum, so it's been there forever. And the flyover actually made this view possible. It reminds me of that little Gaulish village that has been defying the Roman Empire in the Asterix comics. Though it's just an observation, and I'm not judgmental about it. And another building that interests me is Vidhan Saudha itself, the iconic building of Bangalore. And for, I think, eons, whenever anybody talked about Bangalore, the graphic representation was the dome of Vidhan Saudha, may it be like an in-flight magazine to a brochure or whatever. When I came into Bangalore, and for a long while, Vidhan Saudha was a easily accessible place. Everybody went there in the evening to picnic. Corn would be sold, peanuts would be sold, and people would go for their walk. And you can even walk up to the, there's absolutely not a problem. This picture was shot in the late 80s, and then, post-terrorism, it became a fortress. Kengal Hanumantaya, who built built Vidhan Saudha, he actually had visualized it to be a kind of public, easily accessible space, or a public space, but it's become completely a different thing right now. Now we go to South Bangalore. This is again a picture of the Bull Temple, Basavangudi, from the late 80s. And then I recently went there to photograph the Groundnut Festival of the Kadle Kai Perishe. This is another festival that has been going on for, I don't know, several hundred years, where the first harvest of groundnut is brought to the bull to offer, to appease the bull. And this festival, I was there for quite some time photographing. It still remains as a village festival, but today it's where a village fair meets the metropolis head-on. That's why it's so interesting. There were about 100,000 people there at any given point in time in a stretch of about 2 kilometers, 1.5 kilometers. A few pictures from it. And, the ubiquitous Gandhi, who's always there at various places. And what struck me was that people were so amused. There were like hundreds of people around this Gandhi impersonator. Though we have completely forgotten Gandhi's thoughts and teachings, an impersonator amuses us no end. And it kind of reminded me of the Dandi March. Oh, this is the few pictures from Karaga, which I'm kind of fascinated by it. And this is a festival which is a great equalizer in a way. It's actually a man who becomes Shakti, or a woman, and carries the Karaga, which is a set of earthen pots which is filled with rice, covered with jasmine, and he dances for 24 hours almost. And so the man becomes a woman. The Karaga Purana, which is recited, is in Telugu, but the Tigadas, the people, the gardeners, they came when Hyder Ali built the Lal Bagh from Tamil Nadu, and they became Kannadigas. Some of them still speak Tamil, And Karaga Purana there's a lot of references to preserving forests and lakes. And this is for me a very important picture. This is the Tawakkal Mastan Dargah, where not just the Hindus, Tigadas who go and do seva, but the gods themselves go into a dargah. I don't think to my knowledge, it ever happens in any part of India, where Hindu gods go into dargah, and they've been doing it for hundreds of years. And I believe that these kind of things actually been holding the secular fabric of the city. Roy said that this is the most secular city in India, and I think these are the kind of things that may make it happen. Even if you walk in Shivaji Nagar, you will find churches sharing walls with mosques and temples. Just some inner spaces, the public library of Bangalore. The Shankar Mutt in Chamrajpet. I was shooting in mid-90s, I had long hair and everything, and when I was shooting, people thought I was an American. An old house near in the Pet City area, Kalasipalayam area. This is a Diwan Krishna Rao's house in Chamrajpet, in Basavangudi. Few Bangaloreans, Kora Chandy, who was the father of Dr. Thomas Chandy of Hosmet Hospital, and he was a great historian. Barbara and Lieutenant Colonel Thomas, they used to be on Convent Road. This is Shafiq Syed. He was the hero of Mira Nair's Salam Bombay, and he went onto the street and became an auto driver, and now he works as a sound recordist. Some cityscapes, which not a genre that is kind of neglected by many photographers. I have this theory that Bangalore will live in layers, level 1, level 2 kind of thing in few years from now. So to illustrate that thought, I shot this picture. A rare sight, Kabban Road completely empty. A panorama of the Oriental building and the new. This house was getting demolished somewhere in, I think, Castle Street or something. I was walking around and shot this picture. And as when Kohinoor, the restaurant closed on Brigade Road, I went and shot a few pictures there.